Greetings and salutations, gamers. Welcome to Cast Co-op, the podcast in which three podcast hosts cast together. I am one of your hosts, Luke Lore, the insipid ghost and host of the Xbox Expansion Pass, and I am joined by my big brother and yours, the host of Season Gaming's Bitcast, the co-host of Cast Co-op, the editor-in-chief of SeasonGaming.com, the man who owns so many statues it's absurd, a guy who broke his leg not too long ago, got back out onto the hockey rink, and he's still out there ditching 5-year-olds into the boards, a man who once shaved his head and never went back. He was there on January 6th. A guy for our freedom, Mr. Ainsley Boner.
Whoa. Whoa. Don't put that out there.
That's such a great intro until that moment.
I know, you had to ruin it. You had to ruin it right at the end.
Jeez Louise.
That was well played, sir. Well played. What's going on, everyone? Good to see everyone. Kevin said, oh, God, that escalated.
I was trying to just sneak it in there.
You know what they say, right? Is every I'm gonna forget it now, but you're pointing that out because it's an admission of yourself.
Yeah. Since when have blonde hair, blue-eyed people made those mistakes? I can't imagine.
It's like I just blended in. They couldn't see out there.
God. These comparisons the past few years have been great. Thanks, America. Oh, goodness. Ainsley Bowden, host of the Bitcast. You're doing well. I'm glad to have you. But we are also joined by host of the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast, Mr. 5-star himself, Joseph Moran. How are you, buddy?
Oh, my God. I was waiting for my turn. That was very tame. All right. Well, I'm doing fine.
5-star. I mean, that's good.
Yeah, I'm a 5-star man, you know? Oh, jeez.
That's right. Joe had a recent win in his personal life that I can't knock this man down while he's riding high.
I really am.
Yeah, you should DM to Ainsley that.
Sure, absolutely.
I
will.
We're talking about.
Yeah,
no. It'll be us.
Better have pictures.
Oh, I'll have a few.
Joe, you've had a good old time on the Trophy Room. A lot of good stuff coming PlayStation's way, man.
I guess I just can't order any of it. Thanks a lot, PlayStation Direct. Here I am waiting for the PlayStation VR 2, and yet again hit with the checkout error. I go on so PSVR 2, not mine, don't have it, not pre-ordered because it won't let me check out. It says error with this transaction. Go to PlayStation support. I went to PlayStation support and they're so great. They said they don't know what's going on and they can't help me. So I guess I just have to wait for the PlayStation VR 2 if and when it comes to other retailers. So, that's a win.
Nice, man. Maybe what you should try is start a PlayStation podcast, right? Hoping you can grow it and make it very successful so you bring a lot of awareness to the PlayStation brand. Yep. Maybe then they'll let you order stuff. Just a thought.
You know what? I've done that, Ains, and believe it or not, not even any.
Still not working.
No, it's pretty crazy how they'll ignore you, But other than that, I'm doing fantastic. Honestly, I can't complain.
All right, so here's a question. It's kind of just occurring to me in the moment. I was able to order you the DualSense 5.
Yeah.
No, that's not what's it called.
DualSense Edge.
DualSense 5.
Edge. Well, yeah.
Real dumb.
Whatever.
What happened to 2, 3, and 4?
I thought we were on those. It's because DualShock, because it's the 5th controller. It would have been the 5th DualShock if it had been a DualShock, right?
Sure. Yeah, but it's DualSense.
Okay, so the Edge, so that was it's like what, 200, 250?
$200, yeah.
Okay, $200. So that's $200, and then if you had gotten PSVR 2, which I expect that you will at some point, that's like $600. You'd be spending $800 on not the system. Yeah, 900 with tax on not the system for PlayStation products next year. Not counting games, correct? And yeah, Ains, I get you. We knew you would because you got slaves and interns in the back. Churning out stuff for you, but are you okay with that? Like as a PlayStation gamer?
Sure, whatever. I really like VR. I want it to succeed. I wanted to support it. I really want to play, Horizon Call of the Wild. I want a pro controller out of PlayStation, and the DualSense is exactly that. So I'm gonna go purchase that, buy it, because I want back buttons and and the special little trigger things. So yeah, no, I'm totally okay with forking over that cash. Again, like when it comes to the VR thing, it's really splitting hairs. It's a for the money, you'd be getting an Index without a PC. So I think I'm okay spending that amount of money for PlayStation VR 2. But we'll see if PlayStation will let me purchase things from them. Because who knows?
Ains, what about you? Is that too much money on supplementary PlayStation experiences for like 1 year or a 6-month period or anything?
I don't think so. I think that I don't know. My opinion has been that the old kind of adage of console owners being opposed to spending premium amounts, I would say, on accessories or things like that. I think those days are gone. I think the whole thing that used to be a console won't sell if it's over $299. I mean, we see that's wrong nowadays. The Series X and PS5 are selling faster than any prior generation. People buy the Elite Series 2 like bonkers. That's a $200 controller pretty much with tags. I mean, you know, those accessories sell extremely well. So I don't think so.
Depending on how you use that VR, it could be, you know.
It's true.
So no, I don't think, you know, I think that's just the price for more of a higher end product today. I'm glad. I'm one of those people that kind of said PSVR 1 was cool, but it was cheap. It was low end, and I really wanted them to do better with PSVR 2, even if it cost more, and they did. So, you know, I'm one of those people that thinks I wish the Series X and PS5 were 800 and we got even higher end models. That's me. But I get why we got what we get, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I do.
But yeah, I think we're past the point. I think the PSVR 2, what I'm trying to say, and the Edge in particular will sell just fine.
It's funny because we've had a lot of conversations in the last few years and months, and then recently on XEP specifically with a couple of guests, the idea of the race to the bottom and what it means to get your game out there. We have so many games that launch free to play. They want you in the door. We saw the Series S. You missed like half your mouth with that. That was hilarious. We watched that happen.
We all
roll the tape.
We
back.
all noticed. We all noticed.
This is unavoidable.
Don't play coy.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
For audio listeners, Ains tried to eat a protein bar and missed like half of it. It fell out of his mouth. It's a real thing that happened, Ains. So anywho, the idea of race to the bottom, get people in, barrier to entry. Series S is low cost. You can play on any controller you want via xCloud. And then next to that, juxtaposed to that, we've got high-end models of consoles. We've got supplementary experiences. I mean, I worded it in a way that might accidentally sound inflammatory, but to get the full PlayStation experience in 2023, you're spending close to $1,000 just on hardware. To get the full PlayStation, if you want to call it that. That's a lot of money, right?
Well, I think it's kind of a misnomer a little bit.
Because
what does full PlayStation experience even mean? If your classification of full PlayStation experience includes VR2, then what's a full Xbox experience? Like, I don't know what that means.
That's a fair question. I mean, that's a fair question. I don't know how to word it better, I guess you would say, to not miss out on what PlayStation is bringing its gamers. I guess I was trying to find a simpler way of saying that.
So, like, if you want to experience everything that PlayStation first party is going to make.
Sure. Yeah. Bring to the table. Yeah. I mean, that seems like a lot of money to ask your customer base. Counterpoint, like, mind you, and just to be clear for anyone that is unaware, like, I'd be very interested in an Xbox side of this, right? And putting on a Master Chief helmet and seeing that overlay and super, you know what I mean? Like, I'd be very interested in that. I'm just curious if that's not a.
No, we got it. You're a fanboy.
Well, I would say that, like, if that's what we're thinking about, right? Like, it's not a 1-to-1, obviously, but like Xbox has a first party studio in World's Edge that makes games that are only on PC. At least for now. We heard Age of Empires is coming to Xbox next year, but you know, like, there's things, and PC Game Pass has different games on it than Xbox Game Pass has, and you need a PC to play those. So, I mean, it's just, you know, I don't think there's a lot of merit in that.
Gotcha.
Label, in my opinion.
No, that is a good call. Joe, do you agree with him on that one?
No, yeah, 110% agree. Yeah, I think it's like full experience. Well, what's a full experience to you is going to be not to me. So, like, you could not be into PSVR, so you don't buy the headset. You're not missing out on anything if you're not into it. Just like, for people who want to buy the Elite controller, it's there, and for those that don't and they're fine with what they got, It's there for you. It's just options. So I don't think it's the full experience. There's just experiences there. If you want them, you have them at your discretion. Yeah.
Do you both join me in expecting that despite the price points, PSVR is going to be a hit and sell out kind of the first 2 or 3 waves?
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah, I hope.
I said today, like my biggest fear with PSVR 2 is it's going to get vetoed, where they support it for a year or two pretty broadly. It doesn't sell enough, whatever their expectations are, and then they kind of abandon it. That's what I'm hoping does not happen. Obviously, it feels like they're all in. If you look at their investment strategy for the next 3 years in terms of first party and software development, like VR and mobile are in there pretty significantly. So I hope so, I guess is the short answer.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Well, that's cool. I was just curious. A lot of cool announcements on the PlayStation hardware side of late. And so to me, it's just exciting to see new tech come to mainstream is not the right word, console gaming, but like I guess the interest levels that I have, to me, this is console gaming. This is more of a mainstream thing, whereas VR has existed as a niche in the PC space despite PSVR 1. Something about PSVR 2 anecdotally feels like it's more relevant than its predecessor. So
yes, I would agree.
All right.
Cool. I think that
Boys,
VR,
I'm gonna be honest. Can I get real with you?
Get real.
I was not paying attention. Someone said there's a way around the issue I'm having. I'm trying to see if that works.
Okay.
So,
all right. Yeah. Random Name said he was having trouble with the zip code. I was going to say, Luke, I think that the VR market, I don't think it's where some people hoped it would be in 2022, right? Like some people expected it to be much bigger, but it is still, in relativity's sake, much bigger than it was in 2017 was PSVR 1, maybe something like that. So I think there's greater interest. I think the Quest has moved VR forward with how mainstream it is. I think the Index has shown that a higher end VR headset can sell and be successful. And I think that, PlayStation is going to kind of leverage the popularity of the Quest and the PS5 to kind of hopefully drive it down the fairway, for lack of a better analogy, and kind of hit that target. There's a lot of things that can go wrong along the way. But, I'm hopeful.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, boys, our main topic tonight is the Game Award nominations and how we kind of feel about the games that were selected, if we've played or experienced some of them, if there's some that we think might have been missed out. I'd also, at some point later on in the show, like to talk about Twitter and the meltdowns that are actually happening at Twitter and how that may or may not impact the gaming community. I see a lot of people discussing where they might go, or if they'll go anywhere.
Friendster, baby.
I don't know what that is.
MySpace.
That's right.
Oh, okay. All right. Wait, is Friendster one of the old ones?
Yes, it was, sir.
Oh, okay.
That was the joke. You nailed it.
AIM and MySpace are the only old things that I think I actively remember from that.
Man, the times we had on AIM.
Right?
It's the Wild West, boys.
James, do you have explaining to do?
The things that would go down.
Oh, there's a 10% chance Ains and I chatted to each other and didn't. You know what? Never mind. I don't want to talk about it. All right.
Whoa.
Anyway, let's just keep moving on. All right, guys. So the Game Award nominations are out. These, of course, are the official Game Award, The Game Awards hosted by Jeff Keighley. The nominees went out. We saw a lot of people kind of post reactions, thoughts on what game of the year was, what best narrative might have been, best performance, etc. Obviously, far too many categories to dive into, but I'm pulling up the big one, Game of the Year nominees as being recognized as like the top tier games for the entire year. And I'd like to read them to the nominees to you. And then kind of get your gut check reaction as to how you feel about it. Chat, same with you guys. Let me know how you feel on these. Nominated for Game of the Year this year for the Keeleys, A Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Stray, and Horizon Forbidden West.
I think that I think we're all in the same camp. It felt like, anyway, by the reaction on Twitter, which is 5 makes sense and 1 doesn't. I legitimately don't understand what Stray is doing there. I don't understand it. It's not a big game. It wasn't a big selling game. It's not even close to the highest meta game of the year. Like, I don't understand why it's there. It just makes no sense.
Well, it got more votes, Sans. It's simple as that.
But I mean, like, so think about this for a second, because last year we were talking about where was Forza Horizon 5, right?
Yeah.
And all we heard at the time was, oh, it's eligible next year. Well, we've seen a couple years in a row now, in my opinion, where games from the prior year, they get snubbed. They're completely forgotten about. If we're talking about, top tier games that are highest rated critically, there's no reason Forza Horizon 5 shouldn't be on the list.
Yeah.
If that's not the case, right? Even just this year, and I won't take too much time here, but I was pulling up Metacritic before we started, right? So hold Stray in your mind for a second, right? And then realize that on top of that, here's everything else that came out this year. Rogue Legacy 2 is a 90 Metacritic. Neon White's a 90. Norco, which is coming to Game Pass, I think this week or next week, is an 89. There was, Last of Us Part 1. We can debate whether that should be up there. Probably not. Immortality's an 88. Tunic's an 88. Gran Turismo 7's an 87. Pentiment's an 87, and apparently was eligible, but not recognized at all.
It's very odd because the scores it got were incredible.
And its narrative is stunning. Shredder's Revenge in 87, Inscription in 87, Bayonetta 3 in 87. So there's just, I could keep going, but there's a million games that seem to be critically not only better rated than Stray, but more widely sold and appealed. And I don't get it. I don't understand. I think the other 5 make sense, but I don't get what Stray's doing there.
Joseph?
No disrespect to the Stray team. I really enjoyed that game. I platted the game. Think it's a great game. But yeah, when I'm thinking probably the reason why it Strays up there, not like a game like Pentiment or, whatever have you. I think Stray was a moment that hit beyond just gaming. Like, I remember other sites, like news sites like CNN, actually picked up this game and ran a few articles on it, right? So it was definitely big enough that it reached a much broader audience. Hell, even my sister-in-law, who's not a gamer whatsoever, she's just a cat lover, she's like, I heard of this game called Stray, I want to play it. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, how did you hear about it? So I think in that level, maybe that's something to consider for us. But yeah, like five of those games make sense, but I wouldn't get too upset about it because it always comes down to just 2 games anyway, which this year it's going to be Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok. So we could like get upset and kind of, nitpick here or there, but honestly, the conversation always just boils down to just 2 anyway. But to me, it is confusing because I feel like some of the picks just didn't make any sense and were safe picks, if that makes any sense.
So I'll push back a little bit on that concept. Think about so when any time you have an award show, you are at the mercy of what the judges panels look like, do their political persuasions, their emotional persuasions, what they value, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And for that reason, oftentimes some of the highest rated films of every year are films that I would never want to watch, right? They're not for me. They're the Criterion collection of films, and like short of the occasional Chris Nolan film, mostly what I like is turn your mind off type stuff, not engage with a lot of things. And I think oftentimes with awards, people will push and push and push to have these single off experiences versus just a great video game, just a fun movie, what have you. And I feel like Stray is kind of in for that inclusion. I agree with your logic that it comes down to 2 games typically, right? I wouldn't discount Horizon or Plague Tale this year, given the way we've seen sleeper hits kind of swoop in. Like It Takes Two got Game of the Year, which I found a little baffling again. But I think more and more as we look at these, things. I'm just less and less inclined to understand what makes a game of the year for the masses. But Stray's inclusion feels so out of place next to, if you look at Metacritic, both user and critic scores, there are plenty of games ahead of Stray. If you look at, I guess you would say, anecdotal reception on my feeds, which are curated by me, I saw very little enthusiasm for Stray as compared to even something like Immortality, right?
Right.
In fact, my timeline is full of, and again, my curated timeline that I decided is full of Vampire Survivors, an Xbox Game Pass experience, of course, but Vampire Survivors, I think, is a great video game. Why wasn't that on there? Like, what's the thought process? And as I ramble a bit, do you guys think I'm off the mark on this? Or
well, no, I was just gonna add actually that the other thing, to Joe's point too, you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, I think Elden Ring or Ragnarok 99% likely are gonna take it. But I think that just being nominated for Game of the Year, getting the publicity and everything that goes along with that can go a long way for the game itself, in terms of sales and awareness and everything. And that's why I think it's kind of a disservice to another fantastic game, a different fantastic game than Stray, and why makes me question even more while Stray is there. So yeah, I don't know. And I haven't looked at all the award categories yet, but I mean, there just feels like
a disconnect, maybe.
Yeah, it feels like, disconnect's a good word. I don't even know really how to describe it. It just feels like the Game Awards are very, they're not driven. They feel like they're a hallway vision of what the award show should be for gaming, when really, if you broaden out your perspective, there are so many amazing experiences across different genres and platforms and developers that don't get any recognition. Joe, you and I were joking earlier about Cult of the Lamb, and Cult of the Lamb is I think it's an 86 meta. It was widely beloved. It's already got, pun intended, like a cult following on top of all that right now. And I don't know if it's not, like I said, I haven't looked through everything. But that's another one, in my opinion, that could be well above Stray in terms of Game of the Year.
Yeah, like there's some really weird misses. So like the indie game, for example, right? Like, why isn't Vampire Survivor there? It came out December 21st, 2001, but like that was just like the Horizon
21.
Yeah. Well,
you said 2001. I was like, wait, what?
Oh, did I said 2001? No, 21. Sorry. And then like why isn't it there in indie? And then for like best art style, if I'm not mistaken, let me just make sure I get up here again. Yeah, best art style. Like it's not even there. And there are some.
Lamb?
Cult of the Lamb. I'm like, really?
And Pentiment's not there either. Right?
No. And
which is
we got
wild to me.
Yeah, like these are two games. Pentiment, very much so, driven by its art direction. To me,
or narrative too. Like,
it's just a very strange choices that I feel like there is a bit of disconnect. Like, why would we put Sifu as best fighting game?
Yeah, very strange.
That's strange. That doesn't make any sense. That's an action game.
Here.
You know,
Travis is here. Sorry to
interrupt. Oh my God, 69 mega guys! Future dating's here. Oh,
84% match, guys.
84%.
Your odds are good.
Oh my God, I bet I'm the 16%.
Guys, I gotta go. There's singles in my area, and
oh my God, go! No, I get it.
Hit him up on AIM.
Luke's marriage is on the rocks. He's looking for a way out. So is she.
Whoa, don't put that evil on me.
You heard it, Hillary, run. But so like to me, just a lot of this doesn't make much sense. There's either we're gonna put a game in here because we need more than 4, or just mix matching. I don't know. A lot of this seems like this is kind of a list.
Yeah, it feels like the people who are making these lists are narrow-minded. They're
looking at an aggregator. Like they're looking at like, here's what Google Trends says that people are going to be talking about. So let's put these games there. Where like I think what you guys were alluding to earlier was just like, you don't have that in the Oscars. You'll have like some weird weird movie that no one ever heard of it a month before the Oscars comes out that everybody tries to watch to be informed, you know? You got those weird art house films that like people just love. So like to me, it just seems like someone went on Google Analytics, typed up what are the 100 most popular video games, and we're gonna throw this at a couple of lists. And then filled those lists with very expensive commercials and announcements. And I think more and more we as a community are becoming wiser to it. And I think, at least I can speak for myself, we're starting to get bummed out by it. We're like we lost the point of what an award show was for games.
You know, what's something that's also interesting. I pull up Game of the Year, right? Game of the Year. Requiem, Elden Ring, Ragnarok, Forbidden West, Stray, Xenoblade Chronicles. I pull up Best Game Direction, Elden Ring, Ragnarok, Forbidden West, Immortality, Stray. I pull up Narrative.
So Stray's up for multiple awards.
Yeah.
Narrative, Requiem, Elden Ring, Ragnarok, Forbidden West, Immortality. You know, Art Direction, Elden Ring, Ragnarok, Forbidden West, Scorn, Stray. You know what I mean? Like, it's strange. And as a guy who bounced off Pentiment in the first 30 minutes, right? Pentiment was never designed for me. But like we often talk about, you can turn on a game, play for a little bit, and immediately see quality, immediately see talent, immediately see care and passion put in by developers. Pentiment oozes quality on every single level in my 30 minutes, right? Ains, you did a full review, which I believe is a 20-hour playthrough.
I looked today, and my playthrough was 19 hours, 45 minutes.
Yeah. And your review was stellar, both in writing, but also in like the way it's said.
Thanks,
Sincere.
I didn't check it out. I didn't bother.
Well, I was curious because like I'm a guy that's like I'm prepared to say Pentiment's a great video game. No way do I ever care to truly go through that play at this point in my life. Now, there's always that time later on where some game, like, it clicks. And we're just like, all right, 1, 2. Yeah. Right now, no. And I'm surprised I'm not seeing anything. No love for it. And if my understanding is correct, cutoff goes in at the 18th.
Something like the 19th. I saw something today about it. Yeah, like Pentiment would technically be able to be included. And
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Well, now 2 weeks ago when we recorded on cast, I asked you if sending out codes for Ragnarok was intentionally related to Game of the Year voting. Pentiment codes came out fairly early. I think it was early.
A couple weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago. Yeah. I don't know if we're allowed to say that. A couple weeks ago.
Probably not. Scratch that. They came out sometime prior.
Yeah. But to that effect, like, people had time to go through it and clearly did, because reviews dropped 10s, a 6 here or there, but mostly 10s. And so it just surprised me to see that.
6. Yeah, I agree. And I think this speaks to the larger issue, which we talk about every year. But I think year after year, there's more evidence and reason why this show should be in late January. It just doesn't. I get the money. Look, Jeff, I'm speaking to you. I know you're a viewer. What's going on, Keely? But I get the money aspect, right? It's for money. Everyone always asks, why isn't this in January? It's money. It's very simple. Advertising and funding in the holidays between Thanksgiving and Christmas is the highest it is every year. He gets more money and that's why you see so many damn ads during the Game Awards. It makes the show possible and makes it what it is. And I think the Game Awards are awesome in theory. And I think Jeff does a really good job. I can't imagine the amount of time and effort that goes into putting that show on. I don't want to take anything away from that. But when you think about kind of these conversations, it just makes all the sense in the world. If you're trying to really put on the best show for gamers, for the gaming community, it makes all the sense in the world to just do a calendar year properly. There's just too many caveats and questions and concerns every year that don't need to be there.
Yeah, that's why actually I'm very happy that like we're doing our little award show very different this year. Like this time we're aiming for like an early January, maybe like the first or second week, rather than November, because originally like the reason why we would do an award show near Jeff's is just strictly because of SEO, because that's when the peaks are. Is in the December conversation. So it just made sense for us to announce, like we would normally announce it either this week or next week, our award show run along with Jeff's hype cycle. But this time I think we're waiting till like December 6th to do it, because we want to give as many games as we can justice, because I feel like the other problem with these award shows is it's like the Forza or Last Jedi Jedi. Oh my god, why am I blanking on the name?
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order.
Sorry. Those situations where they come out right at the cutoff, and then they'll be like, "Oh, don't worry, guys, Gabe, don't freak out. They'll be here next year. Don't freak." And they're not. Right. Yep. You get Fallen Order in a category or two, but that's still a stellar game that belongs in that conversation. Forza Horizon, is a stellar game. It deserves to be in this conversation because it did so much. And I'm trying to see if it's even up for accessibility, and it's not. And I think that's fucking crazy, because the things that game does for accessibility is bonkers.
What game?
Like
I'm sorry.
Forza Horizon.
Oh yeah,
it's not even up there for accessibility.
No,
was that last year? I think it was last year.
Was it? God, I hope so. Because
I
thought that it was because of the cutoff that it wasn't entered.
No, some of the chat previously
okay.
corrected that Forza Horizon was up for a few awards last year. I'm pretty sure it did win accessibility, which is good.
Okay. Good.
But I forget what the debacle was with the whole Game of the Year award. But you mentioned Halo Infinite is another one, and I know, believe me, we talked ad nauseum about the content issues for Halo Infinite. But again, it's an 87 rated game. Yeah, it's an 87 meta game that came out in December last year and has largely been ignored. And we get Callisto Protocol in December 2nd this year, which if it hits like we all hope it does, that's going to be another one that could get kind of shafted.
It sucks. So yeah, I feel like we're starting to find more and more of these flaws with this award show, and it really is bumming me out, because we should be celebrating, and instead we're just like, well, yeah, why isn't Halo in there for best multiplayer? We're like, is it strictly because of the content drought? Because like functionality wise, that thing is
game's great.
Yeah. It's incredibly competent. Should it win? I don't know about that, but like, yeah, it should be in the consideration. Same with its narrative, its story, it's just forgotten.
And what's funny, Joe, is today or last week the winter update dropped, Forge dropped. You're seeing some of the best Halo Infinite has to offer. My asterisks right now I'm playing Modern Warfare, but I'm seeing Halo just skyrocket in terms of people talking about it once again, which is great, because obviously look behind me, we love Halo, but it's before November 18th. Halo Infinite has big stuff happening before November 18th. Not on the list.
Yeah, should
it be? There's a plenty to nitpick at Halo Infinite, but gameplay and experience, netcode, not really one of them. Not in mass.
Yeah. Oh, it harshes my vibe. Is there anything you guys like to also talk about with this list here, or have we?
I think that someone on my timeline mentioned that Nintendo always gets snubbed, and at first I kind of read it and I was like, yeah, whatever, and I'm not the biggest Nintendo fan nowadays, but as I thought about it more, I'm like, you know what? They may have a point, because Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, again, higher rated game than Stray. Beloved game Splatoon 3 came out this year. Beloved game, fastest selling game in Japan of all time.
Nominated
not
for
that
Best Family, by the way.
Okay. Not that Japan is relevant here, but you know what I mean. It's a very popular game. Bayonetta 3, we just mentioned, 87 meta, one of the highest rated games of the year.
Yep.
Not out there. It might be up for best action game, maybe. So I don't know if it is or
no, it's not. No, it's not for action.
Action, yeah. You're maybe looking at action adventure.
Maybe
best action is Bayonetta 3.
Silly me.
Well, and the other thing someone pointed out, which I thought, hey, that's a good point too, is that Splatoon 3 was nominated as best family game, and it's like, okay, I guess it's cartoony. Yeah, you can play. Hogue talks about playing with his daughters all the time, but it's a shooter, and I know it's got competitive. Like, people take it pretty seriously, competitive, right? Like, should it not be considered a shooter? And maybe it is. Again, I'm not looking at it, but I don't know. These are just questions I see people asking. So I don't know. Again, I think it just reinforces that it feels like there's a narrow view of the kind of game library every year in these awards, and I don't know what they do about that.
Well, could I speak to something that'll make us all feel old? Are you ready for this? This is the last
show. You're like 10 years younger, more than 10 years younger than
I know, but I'm gonna feel old with you guys. Trust me.
All right, I'm ready.
Content creator of the year.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and don't get me started on that category. Like,
I don't know.
Carl Jacobs, Ludwig and his Holy Blade, Nibelian, I know that one, Nobrew, and QT Cinderella.
I literally don't know any of these people. Not one.
Honestly,
Nibel.
Well, I know Nibel. So let me say something. You guys can get mad at me if you want, or
Okay,
anyone can
please.
get mad at me. Nibel's not a content creator.
Ooh.
I agree with. I will. Ooh.
He's not.
Is
He's
Twitter
a curator.
not content?
No, because he's not creating anything. It's content creator.
Does he not? Did he not comment on and offer insight on lots of stuff as well? He was an excellent curator.
Oh no,
Did he
I'm
not
not taking
offer
anything away from
commentary?
what Nibel did on Twitter and the gaming community. His
Sure.
feed was amazing.
But is his feed not content that he creates? I'm asking, and I'm not arguing. I'm asking.
No, I don't think so. Because
So
he's
when
not creating the content; he's aggregating.
When you and I comment on Twitter, some would argue that is content that we are creating. Our commentary, our thoughts.
I would disagree.
Okay, Joe, what do you think?
Because when you think content creator, you think either you're a streamer, you're creating videos, you're writing, all the different avenues we all do.
Sure.
But that's content because other people can consume it, and it's something you created from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cast Co-op is content because we're creating this literally as we're speaking right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
If someone takes this video and then says, here's what Cast Co-op said last night. That's not content. You're just commenting. You're aggregating what other people did.
Okay, fair. Joe, what do you think? Is Twitter or an equivalent content?
Yes. And I hate saying it because then I have to, acknowledge that TikTok's a thing and those people are creators when, all I see from TikTok is, someone using a song and doing a dumb dance associated with it. And maybe that's just because I'm old and becoming bitter. But I would also argue that doesn't stop the AP from being news. Right. So
Pampa said, if that's the case, Halo has tons of content.
Exactly.
That's
so,
clever. That's clever.
For the case of Twitter, there are influencers on Twitter. People follow Nibelian because he is an influencer. He does create conversations. Is it of his own making? No, but he is so good at aggregating that people come to him for the news. And for the most part, a lot of big names use them for the news. So he is or they are, I don't know, they're just a picture, but they are a content creator because they are not in the sense of they're creating the content. I would remove that word because I think that word is also old and not it doesn't speak to the wide spectrum that the influencers are now. So I would say he's not a content creator. He is an influencer.
Should those be different categories?
I think that category needs to be renamed because it's old and antiquated.
Okay.
So I would say influencer of the year instead of content creator. But yeah, no, they did create, conversation. So I would say yes. And in terms of whose impact in that whole grand list, who has the most impact there? Nibel. Why is Nibel in there? Because they left and people want him back. and it's really a show of admiration to the work that they've done. And I think that's truly the reason why they'll probably even win.
I don't even disagree with anything of what you just said in that last segment, but I still disagree as a content creator. So let me put your point out. Like if you said he creates conversations, so if I go on Twitter right now and I say, just for flamboyancy, say God of War Ragnarok's overrated, I'm gonna create a conversation.
Yeah,
doesn't mean I'm a content creator. I didn't do anything.
No, I was like, I would agree with you. I think it's again, I would say not content creator. I would say influencer.
Yeah, I think
what
that's
you're
fair.
putting out there is influencing someone or in one way, shape, or form. So like content creator, antiquated. Influencer, absolutely.
It's like Wario, right? Like Wario has 1.1 million followers. Like if he comes out and says this game's amazing, he's going to influence a lot of people to check that game out.
Absolutely.
But Wario doesn't create content. You know, those are two different things.
Yeah. And again, like all those names, God, I have no idea. And here's the one thing too. Can I just say it as well? What we have to stop doing as well as a bunch of influencers / content creators is the whole what's it called? The first class thing.
I know it. Future class.
Yeah, future class.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm over that. I thought it was a cool idea at first.
Yeah.
It has turned into something where I see
feed my ego.
I see feed my ego stuff, and I also see
me attention.
Placating to trends versus talent.
Yep.
All of that could be interpreted to be bitter, mind you, because we ourselves are content creators, right? Yep. And there was a time where like, dude, that would have been really cool.
Yeah.
It would have been cool, but I don't think I never actively sought it. But the future class, it doesn't mean what it once did. Nor does Forbes 30 under 30 anymore or any of that stuff. Really means very little compared to the legacy that they left behind. Like think about Trending Gamer. When Greg Miller won that award, I remember that speech. I remember that moment. That was I felt that. And I've since seen other trending gamers and the modifications of that category and heard other speeches and even seen people that have won those categories. Perhaps Greg included at various times where I'm like, no, this is a hard miss. Something's not right. This is weird. And I think it speaks to me getting older, but also the medium changing, the expectations for quality content changing. It's also easier to become a content creator than it's ever been.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
It is not easy
doing it than ever.
Right. It's not easy to gain an audience, but easier to create content.
No, it's harder to get an audience now because there's more people. I mean, the pool's bigger. And sadly, as the three of us discuss all the time, kind of flamboyancy and, screaming and waving your arms around gets a lot of attention.
It's also like this weird, like seeking validation from it's just seeking validation. So it's just make your stuff like, you're not promoting you're just promoting this large entity. They already made up their minds weeks ago of who they're putting in, and sweetheart, it ain't you. So just create your content. I feel like there's a lot of creators out there that is seeking that validation, and I'm here to tell you straight, you're not going to get it anywhere you turn. That's the ghost that's going to constantly haunt you, is the imposter syndrome. And the worst thing you can do is scream into a public forum going, please use this photo. This is my email. I would be really great because I think I do really good stuff. And then it rolls around and you didn't get it. And then you kick yourself in the ass and go, oh, wow, I'm really not truly worth it because Jeff Keighley didn't put me on a flash image for 0.5 seconds during the show.
Yep.
So I'm getting more and more tired seeing those posts. And I'm like, and I made one earlier in the year too. I'm like, I shouldn't have even fucking done that. God, it's the worst. And that's how I think I've become. A few
years ago, you actively sought it. There was a time
last year, and I was just like, oh no, because all the people that I saw, I was just like, oh, this makes sense. I didn't see any of them post anything about this thing. All right, I see what they did. I see you. So like the veil was lifted immediately. I'm like, oh no, all this is doing is creating a trend on a social media platform that they can get more eyes on this thing by using micro and small influencers to boost this thing up even more. But people have already been decided, and they're not micro influencers in the slightest.
Yeah, it's just selling yourself, and I think that's one of the things I struggle with is I'm just not good at selling myself. I don't like selling myself. I don't feel comfortable selling myself. Some people are just really damn good at it.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So we got a super chat from Mr. Mariano Pampa. $10 super chat. He's also a channel member, which is something we introduced last week here at Season Gaming. So if you like what we do here and you didn't know that, check it out. It's low cost, and we'll have timed exclusive videos, content, interviews, all that stuff. So anyway, Pampa says, how or what would you guys change from the Game Awards? Let me get rid of this so we can see Luke.
Can I go back first on this one?
Of course.
Simply put, Pampa, first of all, thank you for supporting Season Gaming, dude. That's really awesome. And you always do, for sure. I would set the award show to be in mid-January. Mid-January, let everybody get through their holiday as well as New Year's, wrap up any other projects. And, the cutoff date is December 29th or something. Just do December 31st, whatever. But let the awards take place mid-January. And let that be the case. Let it be a kickoff as opposed to a finale. A kickoff in the year in gaming where you look back and then you have the ads for the next upcoming year. I think that's the way I would do it. I really think more and more the angle for the holiday sales kick is less and less necessary. We see how many games come out in February, March that just crush it. And I would love to see proper calendar year elements to it be incorporated.
Put it in January. I think we could all agree on that.
Yeah, but I said it first.
Okay. Have the cutoff be like somewhere like the first week of December. You still want people, like no one's tuning in during Christmas. You know what I mean? So put it first week of December. That's the cutoff. You have all the voting happen. Or even just, you know what? I mean, this then just becomes the DICE Awards. So this is not the DICE Awards where it's just like, here's just industry people voting. Because I would say, hey, just how about you just get the audience element out of it? But that's what makes this show. So yeah, first week of December, say the cutoff is like December 1st or December 6th. And then you have the big push into like the second week of January. Would make sense to me, where you actually have people then looking and more and more developers having a shot, because most of these games are going to come out first or second week in November. And I think by having it at somewhere in December, it alleviates the recency bias a bit, because I feel like that's another problem. A lot of the winners, I feel, probably are the games that come out sooner than their competition. So I would say just get rid of recency bias that way and just have it so it's somewhere mid-December. That's what I would say. And maybe not so many goddamn ads, Jeff.
So I kind of have two things, but one is I still believe it should be in January. You need a few extra weeks, obviously, and you get through New Year's and stuff. But I think it just makes it easier where you can say, did this game release in X calendar year? Period. January 1st to December 31st. Here's everything we're looking at. I think if you have it before the end of the year, you still create this weird problem. But I would say the second thing is, the ads are a problem. Some of the sponsored stuff is really kind of messy. I think that if you need to really do funding that way, I say get less ads and do sponsored. So do it like a sports event, which I know is still a little cringy, but I would take it over ads, where you say something like, here's the Best Accessibility Award sponsored by Cisco, or I'm just whatever BMW, whatever. And just do that for the awards if you have to. It would be, it may look a little weird, but it's still better than getting the same ads repeated for hours on end, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So
if I see two Magic commercials in a row, I'll lose my shit. Remember that was it? Like the last year was like Magic the Gathering,
Raid over and over again.
Legends.
Over and over again.
Please stop.
Yeah.
Please.
By the way, I'll just shout out real quick. Over 40 people in the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Please hit that like button if you are enjoying the conversation, especially for this show, as we're not as consistent as we sometimes like to be. Likes and comments will help us a lot. So thank you.
Yeah. Luke hates when I single him out. He just hates being singled out. That's why I do it.
I didn't even hear
what did I do wrong?
He said because we're not as consistent as we like to be, and I go, Luke.
It was a rough October. I have owned that and shared that, sir. Yeah. So, guys, I'm curious. This can be a micro conversation if you'd like to be brought on by a micro human with a big bank account. As Elon Musk changes Twitter, I think a lot of the gaming community is wondering where to go. When I say a lot of the gaming community, I don't know that I'm accurate when I say that, but I do know that a lot of the people that we interact with in our social circles, people that likely view or listen to this show, follow content creators on Twitter. One of the three of us, most likely. If Twitter goes away, how does the gaming community adapt? Why are you laughing at?
I pointed to myself where that was obviously not the case.
Well, I didn't even know what the point of that comment was, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if they're listening to the show, they probably follow one of the three of us on Twitter at least.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
I got you.
That was my thought process. So I'm curious, as Twitter kind of goes through these elements, Twitter's been a big part of my life since 2008 or 11. Can't remember exactly which one.
Wow.
And a huge part of my gaming life. That's how I think I interacted with Joe for the first time, who I've now gamed with for years.
That's right.
Ain, same thing. That's how I met you guys, was via Twitter.
Yep.
I meet tons of friends via that. And if Twitter goes away, I think I'd be left with YouTube Shorts and YouTube and the podcast feed with no other outlet for XEP. And like anybody, I think I'm considering options, but I think it would change a lot of the gaming conversations, at the very least that I have. And so I'm wondering how you guys are feeling about the potential of the way Twitter is operating, specific to its impact on the gaming communities and you specifically.
I think I'll go to Truth Social.
Ames is a founding member of that.
I heard he put a lot of money into that in Parler. Oh my gosh. Oh God, he lost it big. He lost it big on Bitcoin, folks. Anyway, so we're in a really weird phase where we're watching, first off, a man ruin his reputation. Because like, no matter what you thought on Elon, we at least thought like the man was smart, right? We I don't know, like he had this facade for the most part.
Oh, absolutely. He spent a lot of money on that facade. Yes.
Yeah. Especially in the mid 2000s to teens, he spent a lot on his image and this like, I'm kind of like, Tony Stark vibes. He was even in Iron Man 2, right? So, he and a lot of these billionaires as well spent a lot on their image so that we would worship them and not question the wealth. So that being said, we're seeing this man's ego kind of erupt right in front of us, where we're seeing him make some really just stupid decisions, like the checkmark verification, which anybody, even I could tell you 5 minutes thinking of it, I'm like, well, anybody could be Coca-Cola and say, let's go drink the blood of the innocent, and like I have a check mark and people are going to be like, what's happening here? You're seeing pharmaceutical companies getting called out because they phony accounts are saying that they're going to make insulin free, which it should be, and that has caused companies to lose millions of dollars because one idiot thought, let's democratize Twitter and everybody gets a check mark, just give me $8 for it, where it's like, for $8 I could go watch Stranger Things. Why the hell would I pay for, again, validation and basic editing tools? So for me, I'm just seeing a guy who is exactly what folks were telling me, or whispering rather. Now it's out loud of, this guy's clearly not as smart as he thinks he is, and he is tearing down this social media network. And that sucks for us because we're content creators. We interact with our audiences here, but more importantly, we as gamers interact with each other here. And I love for what I do on Twitter, which is like sharing the things I like instead of the things I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully trying to make someone's day with a silly joke here or there, right? And that sucks that may leave, because Twitter has been a part of my gaming life as well. It's the reason why I met you, Ains, Bobby, Sean, all of it is because of this dumb, silly little app that, thinking about it in the grand schemes, is it truly important? Not for my content. It's less than 10% of traffic that comes to my podcast is Twitter. So like for me, it's the social element that I'm losing that's bumming me out. And I just wish there was someone that could shake this man, just going, dude, just set the clocks back, just fix the mess, and then plan accordingly. For maybe a few months out, you do this relaunch of Blue, not next week, you idiot.
You know what sucks? I would totally pay for Twitter Blue. I was genuinely thinking about it prior to his antics.
Oh, I am a Twitter Blue subscriber until 3 days from now. It was like $2, and what I get, like, my editing, because I got bad ADHD and dyslexia. So like I need that editing feature really bad, or the undo button. I love that. Having videos that are a little bit more than 2 minutes, 20 seconds helped me dramatically. But now it's just like, I don't want to pay $8 and for a check mark that I never fucking cared about. No, I think that's stupid and silly. So absolutely not.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, that was a long rant.
No, it wasn't. I'm genuinely
fine.
Curious. Because I didn't mean it as a joke topic.
Yeah.
So I'll preface this by saying that you guys know I kind of work in tech to a degree. Work with a lot of people who do tech related jobs, come from tech industries. And watching what has happened, I genuinely believe this is something for the history books. We are watching a $44 billion acquisition melt in front of our eyes from a guy who's had this persona that he paid for over the years and built, as Joe said, who is nothing more than a unintelligent, spoiled, insecure, rotten child of a man, not even a man, that shouldn't use that word, who was literally only put on a pedestal because his racist, crime-ridden father had billions of dollars from the atrocities he committed in Africa. He's an active piece of garbage, and the world would be better off without him. And I hope we can get rid of him sometime in the near future, because I'm tired of hering about him.
He's literally active. I like.
He's literally actively ruining people's lives. Who will hopefully bounce back because they're intelligent engineers and coders and everything else that have built Twitter. And you're watching this idiot kid with a chemistry set break it apart and not know what he's doing. And to get back to the point, but Elon's a piece of garbage. I can't stand him. Just get rid of him.
That's weird, because you own 8 Teslas.
Which are, But to Luke's point, as much as Twitter annoys me sometimes with the console war bullcrap, all the stuff we've talked about many times, the fact is that a lot of the gaming chatter happens on Twitter. A lot of the gaming conversation happens on Twitter. I've met people like yourself, people like in our chat, lots of friends that I talk to every single day and have now met in real life because of Twitter. And I'm very thankful for what was built in that regard. So I don't know what will happen. It's going to be a very interesting next few weeks for this platform. It's like witnessing a movie unfold in front of your eyes. It's very crazy right now. But I don't know. But I do at least want to give credit. I know it takes up too much of my time. I spend too much time on Twitter. Same. I think most of us do. And there's plenty of negatives about it. But I try to look at the positives of, well, it's also done a lot of good things for me and Season Gaming. So,
I mean, and to speak on that too, it's given us tremendous opportunities on the trophy room. We were able to be on some of the biggest podcasts ever because you know, we shot our shot on a social media thing and it worked. So like, yeah, it really does bum me out because just some guy, a megalomaniac, thought this was a good idea for one reason or the other. Probably drink their own Kool-Aid way too much. We've been seeing that recently.
He has been told he's special his whole life when he's not.
Yeah.
And when you're come from a billionaire family and all you ever know is everything's handed to you, you're told you're special, you're brought up as you're better than everyone else on the planet, this is what you end up with. A human piece of garbage. Trump's the same way. I don't care who's listening. I don't care who's listening, but they're the same kilt. They're brought up, they're handed everything in life, their entire life. They come from maniacal families. I mean, horrible, horrible people.
Yeah. No, it's true.
This is the result.
Yeah. Like a lot of, I was talking to some people and, they're like, oh, he's a genius though. He invented PayPal. I'm like, no,
he didn't. He didn't invent anything.
The Tesla, right? And I'm like, yeah, because he like frauded the government out of a lot of stuff. That's how he got money for Tesla. Sure, whatever. Like they're like any of his companies he actually made. No, that's not how it happened. It's a lot of revisionist history. And then they'll be like, well, at least he's raised by a good dad. It's like, really? Because he impregnated his stepdaughter. It's like all these things have just come out of the woodwork that I think they've been trying to squash for the past decades now. And you're seeing this space that has been, so important to us being ripped away just because of one person's ego. It pisses me off. It really does. Luke, I know you were there on January 6th, so you must have some sympathy for Elon. And how is Nancy's seat, by the way?
Comfortable, as one would think. It's funny because I come from a very different.
Also, can I say that you got a really nice tan after being in Maricopa County, with the pitchforks and all those signs you handcrafted.
Like 6 people get that joke, and I hate you for it. Because the other 6 are like, wait a minute,
what's happening?
So I used to love Elon Musk, which hindsight is like, oh my gosh, because I didn't know all of these things, right? That curated timeline. I wanted a Tesla desperately as my next car. I ended up going a different direction. I'm very happy with my other one, but like I really wanted that. I was saving up for it. I thought the dude was brilliant. And it sucks because obviously I was way off the mark for a lot of reasons there. But in watching him to bring it back specifically to us, the man's trying to burn down that which connected me to so many of my current friends. Because we're adults that love gaming, it can be hard to connect with people. And it would have been hard to connect with people without Twitter in its time. There are other alternatives now, but there was a time where Twitter was the only space for gaming and for sports social media at their peak. And it's been the idea of it going away is tough. And that's why I was, prior to, again, some recent antics, I was really like, you know what, Twitter Blue. Yeah, I want to support this platform. I want to have the small benefits of it, but really I don't want it to go away. And now it's like, dude. And then the worst part is, like, if I did it, I'd be a fraud for having that stupid fake check mark. Unless you can turn that off. I don't know if you can turn that off.
Nope.
Like I'd be joked on for that. And I don't want my content to drown away, right? Like I have a hard enough time getting content out there. I would hate for that to go away.
And we're already seeing the algorithm right now. Like, for example, I posted that we're live on Cast Co-op on my main feed. I went on the Trophy Room feed to go and retweet it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find that tweet.
Yeah. It's I've noticed it significantly in the last week, which is a bummer. And talking about algorithms and content creation, I'm trying out YouTube Shorts, right? I think I've done 4 wildly different reaches each time, right? On very different levels, depending on topic. And I'm dipping my toe into this world, but watching the algorithm adapt and the in the moment stuff versus legacy stuff, really interesting to watch. And it's just, it's odd. And I would hope that any content creator would not tie themselves to one platform.
So I think that's one thing I knew, but when it came to the social spaces, I've been thinking about it for a very long time of like, I got to get the trophy room out to more places than just Twitter. Like TikTok's a thing. Instagram definitely exists. Maybe these are platforms that I want to try, right? Because the one thing is like Jago in the chat, probably right. Elon probably does hate me because every time I see one of those funny, there's so many. Here's the thing with this downfall of a human being, there's so many great memes on him. There's so many, like someone is like his mother on Twitter posts as his mother. It's like Elon's it's the best tweet I've ever seen. It was like Elon's butthole is in the front.
Like, I don't even know what you just said.
Sorry, it's Elon's mom verified saying Elon's can't even Elon's butthole is in the front. And I thought it's the most hilarious thing. So like the shit posts have been incredible, absolutely incredible. But like I'm thinking, where do I go next? Because that's the other thing. I've seen so many people going, I'm tired. Oh, look at it. As I said, butthole in the front, 69mega.com is back in the chat. Like, we got you. So, you know, I'm like, I don't want to create another presence. I'm tired. You know, I'm old. Yeah. I already do this for somewhat of a living.
You got to stop saying you're old, Joe. You're killing me.
I'm 31. My knees hurt when I wake up now or something. I no longer connect with the youth. The latest rapper I know is 2 Chainz, and that's like from 5 years ago, I think.
Take off.
I'm out. What's that?
Nothing.
Exactly. I bet there's a dark joke in there.
I said not take off. He was. Okay. Ooh.
Ooh, okay.
It's a rapper who was shot and killed playing dice. This is a millionaire playing dice like 2 weeks ago. Well, do you remember this?
Oh, never heard of it.
It was trending on Twitter.
Oh my goodness. All right. So yeah, so like there's, you know, I don't get it. But for me, I'm like, oh God, to go out there to build another presence on Insta, on TikTok, that's too much. My bandwidth is not here anymore. Right. I barely got enough time for Twitter and the podcast. So like for me, it's just, I don't know. My question to you guys is like, where do you think the gaming community goes next? Because I'm gonna miss like our little DM groups that we have. You know, where are our little DM groups going to go next? Is it Instagram? Do you think Zuckerberg's like, hey, listen, I botched this meta idea, but I could steal this Twitter one, and I think it's going to be great? I don't know. What say you guys?
I don't know.
I don't have a good answer. That's the problem.
I don't have a good answer. I honestly, I don't even like it, but I think that the best solution would probably be Discord, which I don't like. I don't really enjoy Discord. But I think if you think about what I use Twitter for, communicating with different groups, group DMs, right? And keeping track of friends, that seems to be the best place right now. But
yeah. So anyway. where do you think like gaming is gonna go then? Because
that's my bigger question.
Yeah, I honestly I think that's kind of my point. I think you would see how I was envisioning Discord, right? You see these larger communities pop up where it's just like gaming broad community, you know, like different communities basically pop up where there's thousands and thousands of people that would be in one place. Yeah. But it's just not going to be the same. Twitter was really refined to be a mostly secure, which has been dismantled, curated feed of the things that you enjoy. And if you were in the gaming community and you kind of tune that over the years, which we all have, it's very efficient. And I don't see that efficiency anywhere else.
Yeah. I've seen some people say LinkedIn. Well, like that's kind of the last place I ever want to go is LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is like worse Facebook. Like, it's messy, man. I don't know.
It's messy, and that algorithm's also all types of weird. Luke, where do you think you'd be going?
Probably Instagram.
Insta.
I've got @InsipidGhost on Instagram. I'm holding it, but
I'm on Instagram. I just never use it. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'd be starting from scratch, which in some ways, cool, because the audience that I have on Twitter was partially inflated because I was a soccer analyst years ago, right? And at some point, some people might be like, "Oh, that's a great thing. You have more followers because of that." Well, we talk a lot about, as content creators, about engagement. I have a lot more followers than I do engagement because I no longer create the content that got the first people in, right? And when you, as we all know, like when you create content, sometimes bots follow you. Yeah. Rarely do they unfollow unless something happens. So there is an element of me that's like, yo, it'd be really cool to have a fresh audience that's just me from scratch. Equally relevant, or equally an equal aspect of that is like, oh, you know, like there it goes, gone. So I don't know how I feel about that. Plus, like I talk about achievement systems, I really like the legacy of memories I have on Twitter. I went through 2 relationships, got married, met friends, lost friends, and chronicled a lot of my gaming history on this platform.
Yeah.
That sucks, the idea that might go away, you know?
Yeah, it does. I think it to me, it sucks the most because I'm losing, I feel like, the opportunity to gain more friends, and hurt the ones that I have currently. You know, I don't care much about Luke, but like there are other people like I would hate to lose that connection with just because of you know, I'm not in a Twitter DM. I don't have y'all numbers. Like, oh no, what happens? And you're right. I think Ains for the moment will be pushing on the trophy room for the next 2 weeks is Discord. Follow us on Discord. Twitter's super volatile. Elon Musk has a micro penis from what his mother told me. So like, you know, or really the world. And so like, yeah, it just sucks that I'm losing out on that. Maybe it's better for the long run because, yeah, I think we're all pretty addicted to social media and to see what the next idiot has to say on the dumb console wars that we hate. But I'd rather have those conversations or see those conversations than miss out on talking to all my buddies, you know? It sucks. Doesn't make me feel nice. Doesn't make me feel nice one bit.
You know, it does make you feel nice, though.
What's that?
Talking about God of War.
Boop.
So, boys, God of War, we talked on last episode that it released to critical acclaim. Tons and tons of people saying this game is fantastic. It's up for Game of the Year, and I think every single category that Jeff Keighley thought of. Best family game, best mobile game. You can play it on xCloud and other
best esports game.
Best esports, absolutely. You can speed run that bad boy. It's up for everything. But I know I'm about 4 to 6 hours in. I'm not 100% sure. Joe, I think you're much further than me. And Ains, I heard you talking prior to recording 8 to 10 hours.
8 to 9, I'd say. Yeah, somewhere there. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm around like the 25-hour mark. I've done a lot of side stuff.
Okay. So with me being early on, I'm going to present you an idea, and I think you guys actually were talking about this when I came in late prior to. I am enjoying this game as I expected I would when we talked last episode. This is more God of War for me. This is how I remember God of War 2018 looking. This is how I remember it playing, and I'm getting more of what I loved in that game. It's only in side-by-side comparisons that I see the visuals have been upticked. Which is interesting, right? Because I played it on PS4 and I was like, oh, it just looks the same. And then I see side by side, I'm like, oh, it's upticked a lot. But I'm getting more of the same experience, which is a fantastic experience. That is my early 4 to 5 hour impression mark. Ains, at your 8 to 9 hour mark, are you feeling something similar? Does something change for you? Where are you at in that?
So it's funny, actually. I'll give some context here. So on Big Cast, I was about 3 hours in, and I said I wasn't overly impressed so far. It feels like 2018 again, which again is not a bad thing. 2018 is a great game, but it just felt like more of the same. Stop it. So now that I'm 8 to 9 hours in, I'm actually a little more disheartened. To be clear, the presentation is incredible. The optimization is incredible. The cinematics are incredible. The voice acting is excellent. Like, there's plenty of superlatives to go around here. Where I'm getting hung up on is I've begun to criticize PlayStation first party for starting to feel templatey. starting to get that Ubisoft feel when I turn on a PS and higher production quality than Ubisoft. I'm not doing a one-to-one comparison here. I'm just saying when I turn on a PS first party game now, I'm starting to feel like, oh, this is all very familiar. It's very samey. Again, if you love that, that's probably a good thing, right? As Dan likes to say on Big Cast, it feels like comfort food. You know what you're getting. For me, that's a negative. I like unique experiences and to push things differently. But my biggest complaint so far is level design. And I was trying to reflect on 2018 to think, was this the same in 2018? And I just kind of ignored it because the other things impressed me so much. And I think the answer might be yes. But what I'm seeing so far, and I just finished the third realm. No spoilers here, don't worry. But what's kind of annoying me is you go to an area and you fight a couple enemies. You open a chest. There's a little side path, the same 3 chests over and over again. You walk and talk. There's some exposition. Some of it's cool. Some of it's banter. And then you repeat. And literally, that's been the entire game so far. You walk to an area, fight a couple enemies, grab a chest, solve a puzzle, which is a waste of time, generally. Talk a bit, fight a couple enemies, and every once in a while, you get a mini boss or something. So far, anyway, what seem to be completely meaningless mini bosses. Nothing's related to what I'm doing at all at this point, where I'm at, Joe. Oh, okay, so what Joe was telling me, so that's been my complaint so far. So I'm enjoying it. I'm still playing it. I'm amazed by the visual fidelity and quality of what's been produced here. But from a game design perspective, I haven't been impressed. Now, prior to us starting, yes, go ahead.
Well, I want to clarify because mind you, we're not going to spoil anything. It's too early. The first 3 realms, you say, I think what I would say is I just finished the first realm. I released someone that was critical to I rescued them.
Gooey. Yeah.
Is that the first realm? You would call that the first realm?
Yeah. Midgard's technically the first, but yes, the first world, open world or overworld, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So I'm past that, obviously, and then I'm passed through the whole next area and moving on from there. And there's some stuff that happens in between there, which is admittedly pretty cool.
But you're describing more God of War.
No, I know. So what I saw in the reviews and stuff was that the side quests are excellent, the writing is excellent, and there's things that elevate it, either correct it or elevate it from 2018. And what Joe was telling me, and Joe obviously can go after us here, what Joe was telling me before we started the show was that the part I'm in right now was the part that he's like the least so far of the game. And it's funny you said that, Joe. Literally, this is no joke. Right as we started talking in our Bitcast DM, Hogue just sent a message, and he was the same place as me. He was not over the moon about this game. He's like, this just feels very the same stuff I just said. He just DM'd me and he said, so it's getting a little more interesting in the middle. He said, I think Svartalfheim, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, and Alfheim are the ones I just finished. He said are big missteps.
Oh, he thinks it's a big misstep. Okay.
He said, we'll see if it can continue with the momentum it's got now. So I think, Joe, what it sounds like is he's gotten past this section I'm in now, and he's saying it's starting to get better.
Yes.
So maybe I'm just in the part I need to get through. But I would say, and we joke about this all the time, Luke, right? If I'm 9 hours in and I'm hearing it gets better, we're in that same conversation again where it's like, okay, it's meandering. And if the game's 30 hours long, you're telling me that half the game is meandering? That's not great. I don't know. That's me.
May I speak?
Probably depends on how much the banter speaks to you.
And it speaks a lot to me. So
the banter is awesome. The assists and helping are not.
I like that we don't let Joe talk. This is great.
Yeah, no.
Really
I mean, what would he know about God of War and PlayStation?
Nothing.
Anyway?
Probably nothing.
Well, that's the thing.
Quick note. Because I don't create PlayStation count. Well, I was, and then it makes a good point because I want Joe to be able to really share his thoughts. I'm enjoying this game because I don't have to cover it at all. I haven't read any reviews. I haven't had to tweet about it. I haven't had to cover a damn thing. And that's a nice blessing.
Yeah.
Joseph, I'm sorry to cut you off.
We got a super chat to get to before Joe goes.
I love it. Yes! This is my new thing.
Tao in the house with the $5 super chat says, Cast Co-op crew is back in rotation. Sweet. And Luke looks less vampiric. Just kidding. Have a great show, guys.
Yeah, no,
Tao,
because he
thank you
looks
so
very
much.
vampiric.
And right now I look vampiric because I'm like way too much light on me, but that's okay. We're going to move on anyway. But Tao, thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
I need a different light because this makes my eyes look super red, and I don't like it.
Can I just say? Can I say?
Joe, what do you think about God of War? Have you played it?
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about it. You guys know my thoughts walking in. I thought 2018 is one of my favorite games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Made me care about Kratos, of whom I never cared about, never liked the series. And God of War Ragnarok's exactly what I want from it, which is a more refined combat, but it's still 2018 at the end of the day in terms of I'm not expecting a racing game. I'm expecting more God of War, which I feel like is what people are like, it's more God of War 18. I'm like, but didn't you like that game? It's like the combat's more refined. Switching from the various weapons is really fun. Mix and matching their abilities feels great. There's so much more customization that makes it so that you can play to the way that you want. It feels way more fast. It feels punchy. So like right there, I'm like, yeah, these are the improvements that I wanted to see from 2018 to its sequel. The one thing that I really liked, and we talked about it on the trophy room with Steve, was I think it does one of the best jobs of just not totally sequeling you, where it's like, I lost somehow all of my stuff and I got to start from the beginning. It's like it does a really good job of picking up where you left off, giving you actual good reasons as to why you may not have the things you have, or why you have the things you have still, and just getting you right in the thick of it. There's a lot of systems that go really or blend really well to each other while you're creating the Kratos that in Atreus team that you want. In terms of the story, I've really liked it so far. In the beginning, I was like, okay, this is good. It's gotten to the part where I'm like, yes, this is great. I think 2018 maybe paced a bit better in truth. But I love the themes that it's playing on. You know, if you beat 2018, it tells you the end of the whole saga. It tells you what happens. And I think what Ragnarok does a really great job of is it plays with the end game of where you're going, and it's constantly diverting your expectations of when you think these big major events are going to happen. And it subverts your expectations that way in really clever ways where you're just like, okay, no, I jive with this. I was expecting this, but this is equally welcomed. For me, the biggest improvement from its predecessor is in the dialogue with the side characters. It's some of my favorite dialogue, where sometimes in the boat with Atreus, yeah, I'd kind of zone in, but like, I really want to know more about Brock and Sindri, their past. I want to know more about Faye or Freya or all these characters that I'm meeting. And I think Ragnarok does a far better job doing that with its dialogue, where it truly feels like it knows these characters, it's comfortable with these characters, and doesn't need to needlessly experiment with them. I feel like all these characters are making choices that make, for the most part, sense. So I love the dialogue, and the side quests work. You talk about like experimenting or taking things from other games. The side quests, to me, are actually more like optional Ghost of Tsushima side quests, where the major side quests were, hey, let's dive into more of this character, and this level will be about them. God of War Ragnarok does that too, and I feel like in more meaningful ways, where you're getting even more out of Kratos that you thought you didn't have to have, but you got it. You're diving more into all these characters, and they feel more developed. You feel rewarded because them as a character are more developed once you get out of that side mission. So I'll say that the side missions are great. I don't, people are really amping it up like it has to be better than Witcher 3. Again, I halfway through Witcher 3, I would tend to disagree, but say that these side quests are really meaningful. But at the end of the day, one of the reasons why Ains doesn't like it is the reason why I love it. So, I do love that I feel like it has a pretty good pace. There are times where it definitely could be better, but it's, hey, here's this fight sequence, here's this puzzle to solve, and while you're solving this puzzle, here's some exposition, and then back to the combat. And I feel like at times it loses itself. Sometimes there's way too many puzzles. I'm like, I want to go back to hitting things with my axe, please. And I feel like that's halfway through. It's just like, okay. We're gonna give you your axe and your whatever you have and start wailing on stuff. There are some Spider-Man-esque sequences that I appreciate that they went for, but I still don't think they necessarily nail. And those are the parts where I get bored. There are some scenes. There's one level to me that feels like a 40-minute monologue. And that's where I feel like if I'm putting the controller down, yikes. And I put the controller down at those parts because I didn't want to deal with them in that moment.
I think what's interesting to me as I play it, and again, less time than you, I'm feeling way too much Uncharted in it.
Yes,
too much puzzle. Too much.
I was just gonna say it's puzzles and climbing. What am I? This is God of War. What am I doing?
And I don't like that because I'm goddamn Kratos. Like, you're telling me I can't.
One part is going to be very Uncharted. That's actually another part that I don't like because I'm like, I'm spending 10 minutes up here. And this is, I believe, an obvious loading screen where I would have liked the climbing in truth to be more like Death Stranding. It's like, let me scan this wall. Here's the things I can, let me fail while I'm climbing, right? Let me figure out this puzzle. Instead, it's like, we're going to guide you through this long tunnel while this person yells at you from below. It's like, okay. So I understand that critique.
Well,
go ahead.
Sorry, just to add to that, Luke, and that goes back to what I was saying about template-y. It's like, all right, so now I've got Horizon, I've got God of War, I've got Uncharted, I've got Ghost, I'm climbing things, I'm jumping ledge to ledge, I'm solving puzzles. Like, again, these are all completely different IPs and characters, yet why am I doing the same gameplay in each of them? I'm moving things to get to another area. Like, come on.
There's a quite a bit of it. It's easy, I think, to pick on it in God of War because to me the first game did so much to revolutionize the character and put that stamp of quality on PlayStation. I think that that it really hadn't gotten for all the Last of Us, for all the Spider-Mans. God of War, because it was a complete reinvention of an established IP, it showed that PlayStation could evolve in a way that PlayStation's kind of struggled to evolve quite a bit, I think, in this last generation and a half. And so, because they started real strong PS4.
Right.
I really feel like they changed a lot, and we saw the fruits of those labors in those subsequent IP that Ains listed. But in Ragnarok, despite all the things being more refined, like Last of Us 2, I think it could have benefited from an editor to say, hey, do we? Is this? And again, I'm 4 to 5 hours in, but I did note.
I would say it. Last of Us Part 2 needed an editor because the director was, sorry, Neil, love you, up his own ass.
Yeah.
This game's just very dense. The things that I feel like there's two sections that you could argue shouldn't exist because it feels more like busy work than reaching the main goal. There are two levels and I feel like it because some of it feels like busy work. It depends on if you like that level or not. Like there is one level that is definitely busy work, but I loved it because it was so much fun. So I don't mind it being there. But one of it did feel like I was eating vegetables.
Gotcha. I did note in XCP this past week, though, turning on God of War Ragnarok made me absolutely desperate for that level of quality from some Xbox IP. Yeah. And it's an apples and oranges comparison because when you look at Forza Horizon, when you look at Sea of Thieves, and you look at Halo Infinite, none of them are trying to be a God of War-esque, Ghost of Tsushima-esque, or third-person narrative.
Games. Yeah.
100%. And the quality in the games that I just listed, top tier across all of their mediums. But there is something that feels different when you look at that, just the start screen of God of
You're
War.
not wrong. You're not wrong.
I mean,
there's an element to the top tier PS first party games that it's tangible.
I want that. There were moments of Halo Infinite that briefly just hinted at that, and I want that. I want Gears of. I think Gears of War is actually a perfect IP to do this with, to give the actual, truly the God of War treatment, where you're climbing, where you're solo or with one other person, and you're exploring, and then you're fighting enemies kind of in small groups at various times. I think a Gears style game where you're scavenging weapons, and you're in that world, but you're not playing the bro shooter Gears of War. I think the world of Gears is perfect for it. But we need a game like that existing on Halo on an Xbox platform that is special. And I really don't think Avowed, Starfield, Redfall, any of those that we've listed, or the highly rated Pentiment, Outer Worlds, any of those come close to what I'm talking about.
No, they're very different. They're definitely different. I think that Gears 5 was an attempt to go that direction, and it succeeded in a lot of ways. I think Halo Infinite has some of the best cinematics, and there's other aspects of that game which are utterly brilliant. But to your point, there is something about just the top tier PS first party that they've kind of nailed. And I think that has to do with a number of factors. One, they have great cross development among their studios. They have a lot of excellent kind of optimization and shared tech. And this was all, we've talked about this before. This is all things that are started to be planted or seeded in the PlayStation 3 generation. It's taken a long time, and we saw the fruits of that begin to happen in the PS4 era, as you said. I think that also, though, on the counter, may be why some of it feels samey at times. It's because there is a lot of cross development. There is a lot of shared resources. There are a lot of shared kind of thought processes and optimization. So it's, you take the good with the bad, I guess. One other thing, I know we've talked about God of War a lot already. One other thing I'd want to credit it for is I love, I'm a big fan of mythology and the kind of old gods, if you will. And the Norse structure, I said this about 2018 as well, but so far I've seen even cooler things in Ragnarok, is they do a really good job about honoring what the kind of gods were really like. I was actually talking to Bert yesterday about this, and he loves like the Marvel movies. Like I'm not a big fan, but he loves them. But he's like, I hate what they did to Thor. I hate, the representation of the characters in kind of the comics is not what they were in mythology. And, we were talking about how much we love, the Thor in this game. And I don't want to spoil any others, that everyone knows Thor's in it because it's advertised, but there's others that come up.
His arc. Yes.
there's others like there's one that came in earlier today when I was playing, and they came onto the screen. I'm like, is that, because I know a lot of the gods. Yeah. And it was. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, and it's just really, really cool. So I love that.
I learn a lot from the game. It teaches you a lot.
I dropped my goddamn thingamabob. Sorry. What they do with these characters, now I got to find a new thingamabob to play with. They know them. Again, like that's my favorite. Like, the story to me is, and the character development that you see on screen is what's really what was keeping me in the first half. And now that I'm in the latter half, I'm like, yes, I can't wait to see the clash. So I'm really digging Ragnarok. And listen, I feel like someone in the comments has said it or will say it. When it comes to like things like Elden Ring, right? Like, yeah, there are definitely bosses where I'm like, this is a boss from Bloodborne, this is a boss from Dark Souls 3, and you've mixed them together. But I feel like the thing that Elden Ring does so well is its level design is goddamn superb, and it uses those things in a more, I guess, refreshing way than I feel like what you guys say, is more templated than that you see in a PlayStation game, which I understand the critique, because enough climbing. I definitely understand that. Again, there's definitely
the God of War. I killed Ares and jumped off a mountain and handled it.
Yeah. I just think, like, I don't know. I said earlier, I don't know if you guys think this is fair. And I'm to be honest, you've actually got me more excited to play more, Joe, since we've been talking as has the chat. So thank you, because knowing that it does improve and the side quest gets better and there's more gods and characters.
And
like,
I'm not here to tell you it's
see
better
that.
than The Witcher 3. I think that was a not say a mistake tweet, but that was definitely, I think, raised some people's expectations to be like, it has to hit here. Because I know how much Witcher 3 means to you, Ains, and I'm like, it's not hitting.
Oh, I'm at the point now where when I see someone say that, I'm like, yeah, okay. And then I just move
Exactly.
past it because it's not going to happen.
If they make me feel nice. That's all I'll say.
But I think I said this earlier, and I don't know if it's fair. We'll see. I'm not judging. I preach all the time more than anyone. Don't judge a game until you fully played it. And I'm not going to put a final judgment on Ragnarok until I get much farther and finish it. But for the larger conversation that we're talking about, for God of War and Ghost to a degree, maybe Horizon, some of the others, they're starting to feel a little kind of like a spectacle to me. They put a lot of emphasis on the cinematics, the big bombastic moments. You get a lot of those. There's the scenes in this game, just like 2018, just like Uncharted, where it's like 30 seconds of falling through a wall and down a mountain and crashing. And they're awesome. Don't get me wrong. They're awesome, but it's spectacle. And I just feel like a lot of these PS first party games are really kind of, they're keeping it surface level a lot of the times and not giving me a lot of depth.
If I could
for good or bad, maybe. Go ahead.
I do like how they break the fourth. When they break the fourth wall, if like there's a Kojima moment in that first hour, and I was like, "You sons of
yeah,
guns."
I know, yeah,
that was fun. They did that a few more times, and I'm like, "This is clever. We're having fun. I like this." Sorry.
So you guys, you can tell me I'm crazy. Tell me it's a good and apt comparison or not. Here's what I said on our Discord earlier today. Sign up for the Season Gaming Discord. We hang out over there and talk. But I said that I'm starting to feel like these games are the Marvel movie comparison of the gaming industry in that they are hugely popular. They make tons of money and overwhelmingly people love them. But for me, and I'm sure I'm not alone, there's others like me, right? They're not deep enough. They don't have enough kind of character or depth to really make me cherish them. And they just don't do it for me. And that's the feeling I'm starting to get from these games.
So for me, I feel like I'm with you until we get to the characters, because I feel like that, like I love Jin. I love Aloy.
I need to play more then. I need to play more.
I love Kratos and Boy. But like that's but I think you're right there. I do think like I think to make that comparison, I think is one you can make. This is definitely the MCU of gaming, because it's a spectacle. It relies on its cinematics, and I think it comes to what you're into for the most part. And not to say that all of them, like Returnal's fantastic. It's not that, but
Returnal's completely
Xbox
different.
Is totally the DC because they make some really good and some pure crap. For every Batman, you're getting a
But there are gameplay ass games, and then there are these spectacles where it's like, I'm watching the theater. And I think there's somewhere in the middle that these Sony games are hitting.
It's hilarious, right? Because I literally just came off of reviewing Pentiment, which is about as far apart from Ragnarok as you could possibly be. You've got one game that is literally a town in 2 dimensions. You're walking around and it's completely narrative. There's no gameplay. The entire game is narrative conversations. And then over here, you've got the biggest spectacle blockbuster release. And they're 2 drastically different things. And I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying that, I feel like there's a lot of kind of enjoyment I'm going to get out of Ragnarok and seeing what's unfolding on the screen and the cinematics and everything we just talked about. But it's not going to give me the residual feeling afterwards. Maybe, I don't know, that Pentiment did, and its kind of narrative arc on life and religion and, family. And you know what I mean? It's like there's different experiences in gaming. And quite frankly, to end this on a positive note, that's what's awesome about games, is because you can love them both.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's great, because like Pentiment is a game that I'm like, I'm gonna check out.
And that's fine.
And it is for you. And like again, Ragnarok is definitely shaping up to be one of my favorite sequels.
Awesome. By the way, to back you up here, Joe.
Yeah, definitely. Again, there's one character that I really want to like talk about, but can't.
Sorry, I was gonna say for our audio listeners, Bree in the chat said, "I think you'll be surprised by the depth of the side characters later on," which is awesome. I hope I am, genuinely.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, and they just need to make a Brock and Sindri game because I think the dialogue. Cool. Yeah, the dialogue. I'll say one thing. There's a level with Brock that I think it may be one of my favorite levels just because of his dialogue alone. He's
By the way,
so
I know you got
hilarious.
You guys got this too, right?
Oh yeah.
This is a very cool collector's edition item. It's heavier than I expected, which is good because most CE stuff's pretty cheap. It's actually got a nice little cloth handle, man. This is cool, and I love that you can put it like they made it so you can put it down, kind of like that. You know, it's awesome. So
yeah,
very cool.
And Joe beat me to the tweet the day that I was literally going to tweet, "I'm worthy." He beat me to it.
I knew it.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Man. I'm loving Ragnarok, and I feel just so lucky because like I've been saying this, I'm a broken record, but like in 1 year I got a really good sequel from a game that I think is one of my favorites of all time, and Ragnarok will be right there hopefully by the time I finish it. And at the same exact time I got Elden Ring, made by my favorite developer, which will end up being one of my favorite games of all time. Like I'm editing the Trophy Room Award show right now, or doing the promo of it, and just hearing the music of Elden Ring, I'm like, God damn, I want to go back. Like I was like, yes, this is.
I watched a 30-minute game design video on Elden Ring the other day. It just came up on my feed, so YouTube did something right for once, and I was like, game design, maker, whatever the channel was. It had tons of followers. And I was like, let me check this out. And they went into a deep dive on the world building that Elden Ring did. And all the memories of playing it came back. And I was like, God damn, that game is incredible. Like that game is untouchable for me. Yeah. But yeah, great.
Also, that's up for best narrative. What do you guys think about that? Have you seen this? Have you heard about that?
That's a stupid choice. I think it's a really bad decision to give it best narrative. And I love Elden Ring like you guys, but I remember I needed help in a lot of that.
Yes.
Yeah. And
it's one you definitely have to search for. I agree. It shouldn't be narrative.
No, like there's a lot that's fantastic. And to me, it's the game of the year thus far. To me, it's the best game of the year. I would put it above God of War, mind you. Again,
can I say it? Am I allowed, or do you guys think I should save it for the award show that I do?
Save it, please. Save your thoughts on that one. But best narrative seems a very stretch. Like you shouldn't have to be consistently Googling in order to understand. You shouldn't need the lore videos to understand.
So I'm laughing because it's become a debate online, as you said. And there's people saying it makes sense. There's other people saying it absolutely does not. And Steve, who writes for Season Gaming, flipped out about it. He's like, this should not be up for best narrative. And I posted someone from IGN, I don't know, some big content creator was like, here's why it does belong in best narrative, and talked about the world building and how the player can track down, the characters and all of that. So wherever you stand, I don't really have a dog in the fight either way. But I guess what I would ask you guys counter, because I don't know where I stand on this, is the point the one guy was trying to make is people think of narrative in games as a linear experience that delivers you the narrative to you, like it
Correct.
delivers it to you.
Correct.
Was that for us, Joe? I'm sorry. No,
I'm yelling. Did you?
Okay.
I thought I muted my mic. I was yelling because someone's cheering on the dog. I'm so sorry. I thought I muted it.
No, you did mute. I saw you. So anyway, that's what he said. And he's like, that's not necessarily what narrative should be defined as. And I was thinking about that, and I'm like, I don't know where I fall on this spectrum. And I'm you guys know me. I'm the biggest Elden Ring defender probably out there. But even I'm like, I don't think I'd put it in best narrative. Like, no. I don't know.
I don't think it has to be spoon fed to you or like you're on this ride. Like, I think like Pulp Fiction's a fantastic movie. That thing starts and it's all over the place, right? It technically starts at the end or ends in the start. Who knows? And like Ragnarok does that too. It's like, we're going to tell you the main plot points of this thing and how everything ends before you even press start.
And they kill any spoiler from the first game immediately.
Oh yeah,
first
absolutely.
Boom. Gone.
So, it doesn't have to be spoon fed to you. It could be this, it could be more nebulous, but even then it's like, guys, if we have to piece together, if we're excited for the next, what is it, Vate Vidya drop that's going to explain to me the lore of, whoever, it's like, well, that's not great. So like, yeah, no, like I love Bloodborne and I love the world that it's built. I'm going to sit here and tell you that's one of my favorite stories of all time. Abso-fucking-lutely not. So yeah, no, I think From Software is, I love them because they're nebulous, but that's also like I'm not remembering these stories because they're nebulous.
I think a good example of a game that does that stuff well, the optional narrative, the go and explore elements. I think, oddly enough, The Witcher 3, which, side note, very excited for that next gen update coming in a little under a month. Really hoping I have Ragnarok done, because I want to play Sonic Frontiers. No apologies, I like game ass games. I want to play that. Hopefully it gets patched.
Supposed to be good, Sonic Frontiers. I mean, it's generally positive comments about it.
And I'm the guy that likes video games, right?
Yeah.
Pentiment, not for me. I like the button clicky fun.
Travis reviewed it and Hogue talked about it. They both played a lot. They said, they literally described it as that. If you love just a fun video game, it's awesome.
That's it. Yeah. It looks like Starlink of all games, like in a lot of ways. Like, just turn my mind off and go. I like that. So The Witcher 3 does that idea of non-linear narratives if you want that very well. And I would put Witcher 3's narrative up amongst the best, bar none. Some of the stories in Cyberpunk, some of the stories in God of War 2018. It just does a really good job at telling stories. Elden Ring does not do a good job at telling stories. Elden Ring is a game where you have a story because of what you experience through immaculate gameplay. You guys are the types to do multiple playthroughs. I played through Elden Ring once, and my build was me. It was my build. I'm not going back to that game for years. And when I go back, it'll be a completely new experience for me because I'll have forgotten how to play it.
Oh God, I can see the DMs already.
But my stories are my stories. It wasn't that game story. I don't know who's a what's it. Was I an Elden Lord when I chose one of the endings? No, but I beat the game. But so, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, just very obscure,
it's very
writing.
cryptic.
Yeah, there's too much good about Elden Ring to demean it by saying that the narrative is also on that level. It's not. There is a brilliant world that is built, but that is not narrative.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the same thing. It kind of goes back to, oh gosh, we had a conversation at the very beginning of the show, boys, where we compared two things that are great, but they weren't necessarily the same.
Butthole being in the front.
Yeah, that was it, actually. Yeah. And so I think it actually hurts Elden Ring to say it's got a great narrative. There's too much that's good about it that it needs to be celebrated. Audio design, gameplay, level design, world building, enemy design, different depth of builds that you can do with your character. To say that it has the best story, no, you're actually taking attention away from the stuff that matters the most about a game like that. That's my thought.
I'd push back slightly, but not a lot.
Yeah.
And we don't have to stay on it, but yeah, I think it has decent narrative if you are the type of person who's willing to seek it out and piece together things, which could in itself be argued that that's not decent narrative. So it's very different, I think, from most games we consider good narrative. But I generally agree that as much as I love Elden Ring, and I love it pretty much more than anything, that's probably one of the weakest aspects of it. The world building, the lore, the things that are in the game that do connect together, which touch on narrative, I would say, are brilliant if you really get into them. But I think its delivery does hurt it to a degree in that sense. And that's true of all From games. I mean, they've almost all been like that to a degree. Elden Ring's just a hell of a lot bigger and broader.
Yep.
To close out our show, boys, because we are kind of hitting that point.
I was gonna say I gotta go night night.
Yeah. You want to go night? Never mind.
You want to go?
You
can only see the first part of that.
Yeah.
What was that, guys? I couldn't hear the second part.
I played a lot of games this year that are by no means game of the year contenders.
Yeah.
And I just want to know like 1 or 2 games, just off the. I don't want to no big conversation, just 1 or 2 games that you've enjoyed this year that maybe people should play, that maybe aren't going to get a nomination, or just stuff that you've liked.
I really liked Inscription, and I need to go back.
Okay.
I think everybody should play Cult of the Lamb because it's great. I got to shout out Nobody Saves the World. I think that game's also really freaking fantastic. A lot of indies this year that I was so surprised that I actually got into, because I'm usually not an indie dude, but looks like I am. I just needed a more dry year for AAA games to really appreciate them more. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay. Ains, you got a couple?
I'm literally looking through my achievements, as you can probably see on my reflection, to try and see if there's anything that jumps out. Obviously, I mean, there is one that's obvious.
As you look for stuff,
as you look for stuff, played.
Let's relax. Does The Witcher 3 update have new trophies and achievements, or same achievements trophies?
I think it's the same because it's a free update.
They have a presentation next week about it. In the press release, it did not say anything about new achievements.
Shit. All right. Because I don't want to play that game on really hard.
PlayStation might be, because they have to do different updates or whatever. All right. Ains, tell me some games you liked this year, bud.
Yeah, I got a couple. So Tiny Tina's Wonderlands was awesome. Cool. Especially if you like the Borderlands universe. I would also highly recommend Rogue Legacy 2. I think that is honestly my highest rated game of the year that I've reviewed or played at a 9.5. Absolutely incredible game. Yeah, I'll go with those 2.
Cool. I do want to spotlight some from the chat as well. While we're snagging a few of those. I really loved Shredder's Revenge. I thought that was a great game this year.
Yes.
Didn't get a lot of love. Recency bias aside, I've really enjoyed Gotham Knights, and I've seen a lot of people that have, and that's been kind of cool because of all the discourse around it. Because I was talking about loving it, I've seen a lot of people come out of the woodwork and say, "Hey, I'm loving it as well." I know our buddy Suddy Joe is loving it. A lot of problems with it, but I'm enjoying it. Solstice,
there's dozens of you, dozens.
Yeah. It's not like Avengers. I think there's a lot more than Avengers.
I can't wait to listen. If there's a Black Friday sale and that thing's $40, I'll jump on that.
I think that's a great price for that game, and it'll be, you'll know not to go in wanting an Arkham game.
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing is it, because no, don't do that.
That's what our reviewer said too. He said, Steve, if that's the biggest thing hurting it is that people want the Arkham game and it's not.
If I wrote that other review. I did send it to Elu, by the way.
Cool.
He never mentioned it.
He not to put things out there, he has been extremely sick. He has not been on our Discord. He has not been on games. He has not tweeted. I've been talking to him offline because I know him well. But he's been like literally in bed for over a week and a half.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, okay. So love Elu. Shout out to him and all the best to him.
Yeah. So if my point was, if he hadn't gotten back to you, he's not getting back to anyone right now. So
okay. Well, I don't want to put him on blast at all. But if you want that review as a counter or an extra for the site, it's there, where you can have it, and I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to write about that game. But Solstice was another game that I thought was really good for a AA experience. Solstice, it's a fixed camera PS2 era style game. I think if you Googled it, you'd be like, okay, I kind of remember that one. It had some good moments that I really enjoyed for kind of a retro PS2 era style game. It just turn your brain off and go. And I had the devs on XEP, and so I enjoyed that. Shredder's Revenge came out this year.
What about Chorus? Was that this year?
No, Chorus and The Gunk were both end of last year.
December. Yeah. Okay.
And I love those two games, Chorus and The Gunk. They would never have made a game of the year because of their timing, but those are two great games that were very much Luke games as well. So, cheers to all that. And because I do want to pull the chat ones, I just want to what?
Rob Frawley says, you're in good company with the 12 people enjoying Gotham Knights. There's an Anthem fan over your right shoulder. He's not wrong. Anthem for life.
In fairness, Anthem for life as well. And also, I'm really excited about it. You can kind of tell. See that Arkham Asylum Batarang?
Yeah.
I have every collector's edition for the Arkham games except for Origins now. Like in retro. Like I went back and I bought them off eBay and stuff. It's the only one I need now is Origins because those are my favorite game series of all time. And Gotham Knights allowed me to enjoy Batman games in a new way. So cheers.
Cool.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of these from the chat real quick, if you don't mind. Jupiter's saying he played.
I got one? Can I got one?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Kevin Ainsworth, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? He writes, Tinykin deserves a shout out too if you love platforming collectathons. I do need to try out Tinykin.
I've heard good things. I have not played it, but I've heard it's great. Yeah.
Cool. I'm actually gonna write that down because I've heard that as well. That was on the Megadads list, and I was like, "What is that game?"
Yep. Jupiter says he played Carry On for the first time this year before it left Game Pass. Short, really liked it. Heard great things about that. A couple people, including Kev and Bree, said Nobody Saves the World.
That's right.
Dope.
And we do get Evil West next week, which a lot of people are looking forward to. I know.
Are you reviewing that one? I've not heard a thing on that.
I am not, and because I was going to, but first I've been ridiculously busy with other stuff, and second, Warzone 2 comes out tomorrow. And being the kind of shooter guy I am, I'm ridiculously pumped for that, and I'm going to be writing something up on Warzone 2. So I'm long story short, no, I'm not doing Evil West.
Gotcha. I pinged a request out for review, never heard back, and didn't pursue because next I want to play Sonic, and I want to play what I want to play now.
Exactly.
Like I'm just Grounded. Oh, Mario Papa saying Grounded. 13 million players. Obsidian, man. Obsidian. They are.
I've been saying for years now.
I'm telling you, it's Obsidian and Insomniac. Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
They don't miss.
Have y'all been saying that? Because I thought of that. Have y'all been saying that?
No, I think a lot of us have saying that.
Have you?
Honestly.
Okay.
I thought the first one that coined it, I think.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, there you go. But yeah, seriously, guys. Serious. Like, real talk, Ainsley Bowden.
Real talk.
Real talk.
I've been eating good lately in terms of games that I wanted to play.
You remember?
I have gotten a little.
You remember in February, like all of us were like, everything's getting delayed. 2022 is going to be boring for games, and it's like I think we were all pretty much wrong about that.
The best part is I'm enjoying stuff I didn't expect. Like this year, I played Cyberpunk. It's been long talked about, but I played games that are older. I'm able to play a lot of newer stuff. I'm also doing a better job at saying no to games. I'm not like I didn't sit through a game that I wouldn't be it wouldn't have benefited me to write a review on As Dusk Falls. I didn't like it. Yeah, like I reviewed, I played 5, 6, 7, 8 hour, whatever I played for it. I gave review impressions, but like I'm not sitting through that anymore. You're not coming to me for that. You know, you're coming to me for your Gotham Knights, for your punchy shooty game. Your that's just what I want to do. And we've just been there's too much enjoyment out there.
Yeah, someone responded to me because I did the Pentiment review and video, and we did a lot of coverage on it. But someone came to me and said, I played like half an hour or an hour, and it's a lot of reading. And said, I'll come back to it and see. And I told him, I said, the entire game is reading, like literally the entire thing. And he said, okay, I'm probably not going to go back to it. I said, cool. It's not for you. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Literally in the review guide that we were sent from Obsidian for Pentiment, there's a message from Josh Sawyer, who directed the game and wrote it. And he basically said he knows this game is not for everyone. But for the people who do enjoy it, we hope that they enjoy what we put together. And every game's like that. There's too many games and too little time in our lives to play stuff because someone else thinks it's good. Like, play what you enjoy. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It's the simplest of concepts. It doesn't matter what it's rated. It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. Play what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Yep. Fully agree. And boys, in 2 weeks we'll have a lot more to talk about.
Luke? 2 weeks?
Hey, I've nailed it the past 2. You know what? If the people knew why I wasn't there, they'd be on my side. All right.
Would they?
Jeez.
Would they?
Jeez.
Blood's on your hands after all.
God damn, dude. God. Oh man. All right. So I turned real red on that one too. If you're wondering, Joe is a absolutely terrible person.
I'm going to hell.
Oh God. Yeah.
Ragnarok's coming, Joe.
Oh yeah. All right.
Oh man.
So, guys, let's go ahead and wrap up. I'm gonna point you to my content first, guys. You can find me on Twitter at Insipid Ghost. Of course, you can find the Xbox Expansion Pass on YouTube and all your podcast services. Really and truly, I would love for you to do two things for me on YouTube. Check out the most recent episode where I interviewed Colin Moriarty, not about his gaming career, or kind of funny or Last Stand or anything, but about his involvement as a co-owner and creative lead for Lily Mo Games. That was a really, really interesting conversation that I enjoyed. I'll also point you to YouTube Shorts. Give me feedback on that, guys. If anyone's willing to watch them, click the like button. But give me feedback. I would love that because I'm trying to explore another outlet of creativity that's not a high maintenance production level. And if that's something people enjoy, let me know. I would really appreciate that. And for upcoming interviews, you can look at some of the most recent non-AAA games coming out. I've got stuff in the works for those. Maybe some stuff that we've talked about on this show. There you go. Ains. Nope, it's Ains. Ains, what you got on the season gaming docket, buddy?
By the way, Bree says, to be fair, I checked out Anthem because of season gaming and got a great experience for $8. Win.
Did you get a check mark, Bree? Did you get a check mark?
No, he means he bought. Oh yeah, I get you. Right. I loved Anthem. God, I loved Anthem. I'm so excited for Iron Man because I loved Anthem.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, so we just started channel memberships here. So we're moving away from Patreon to channel memberships. There's a big message I wrote on Patreon. You can read why. So if you enjoy the content here, there's two tiers. There's $1.99 or $4.99. The $4.99 tier will get you things like early access to the stuff we used to do on Patreon, which is interviews, concept videos on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, etc., and stuff like that. So check that out if you'd like to be a part of that. I did review Pentiment, as I've said on the show. We did do a written review and a video review. Both are live, obviously, non-spoilers, so you can check that out if you're interested in it. Other than that, just check out Season Gaming as always, and the Big Cast is live at 11 a.m. Eastern on Sundays as always. So that's about it. Pass it to you, Joe.
Oh wait, Rob had a $10 super chat. Let's get that before.
Rob did this at the end of Big Cast too. You're too generous, Rob. Thank you very much, man. He's a $10 super chat. Just $10 to support Season Gaming. No need to squeeze in at the end on screen. We already did. We already done it. Yeah, it's on the screen now. It's going to stay there too. Go ahead, Joe.
So listen, I would love to shout out myself at Mr. Babbitt on Twitter as long as that platform still exists, and at PS Trophy Room on Twitter as long as that still exists as well. And the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players that you can check out each and every Thursday. I would love to do that, but I would just like to give you all an update on where my fantasy Critic League is versus the Xbox Drive. We gave them Pentiment because we felt really, really bad that they picked Scorn and Valkyrie Elysium.
Wow, Pentiment was a nice surprise for them then.
Yeah, it really was. They actually absolutely needed it. They're at 213.
Okay.
We're at 249. So,
blowout.
36 plus. Yeah, it's about to be. Guys, what do we think Pokemon's going to rate?
High.
You think in mid 80s?
That's probably about right.
What the last 15 rate?
I didn't even know. I didn't even know
I wouldn't have thought so until speaking to Hogue because of his daughters and Travis last week, who's a Pokemon fan, and I got a quick 10-minute education on Pokemon. So this one's going to be a blockbuster.
Great. So we're at 249. So whatever gains they made with Pentiment, that's gonna surely eat that up. So second Sean Capri, you're the worst person I've ever met. I'm only kidding. I love you. I didn't mean all those rude things, but it is what it is. You guys suck. So I can't wait to host
Pokemon
the Xbox Drive in 2023. That's what
Pokemon
the bet is.
Arceus was 83.
Arceus. Okay, there you go. All right. There you go. Elon's butthole is in the front, and with all that out of the way, everybody keep.
Who has Callisto? Nobody.
Me.
Oh, you have Callisto. Okay, cool.
Yeah, those I think are the final two games: Pokemon and Callisto. They have
against each other.
No. We have Pokemon and Callisto on our list. They have Marvel's Midnight Suns, Final Fantasy Reunion, and if it still comes out, River City Girls. But that's been.
Okay, so the blowout's going to get bigger, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
okay.
It's getting embarrassing for them. Anyway, keep. Sorry, it's out of frame. Keep my headset. Keep keep casting co-op.